Okay, is anyone prepared to give first or make recommendation for first reading?
Yeah.
Councillor Kite?
I'll make a motion that we'll give first reading to bylaw 300.73.
Thank you. All those in favor? Carried. And the second part, that we have a public hearing. Councillor Koenig?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Foster. I would move that public hearing be held on Monday, February 11th, 2013 at 6:30 p.m. to consider bylaw 300.73.
Thank you. All those in favor? Carried. Carried. Okay, moving to the next one, which is bylaw 380, downtown area redevelopment plan. Norma, do you want to take that away?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Foster. Again, I will turn this over to our planner, Jennifer Kirchner. And of course, this is before council for second and third reading. You did get first reading at the December 10th regular meeting of council. Jennifer.
Thank you, Norma. I'm not going to go into this in a great detail as you've had a few presentations on this, but basically staff, our consultants, and our committee have been working together for the past just over a year to prepare this draft document for adoption by council. This plan will provide us with guidance in the future for the development of the downtown, not only with the land use issues, but as well with different visual things, including park space, infrastructure, things of that nature as well. As a refresher, we hosted 3 stakeholder focus groups in February of last year. We held an open house on March 7th of 2012, and a final public open house was held last September. Council gave first reading to the bylaw at the November 13th council meeting, and a public hearing was held at the December 10th council meeting. The plan area, of course, encompasses 214 hectares and is bound by 56th Avenue to the north, 45th Street to the east, 46th Street and Highway 2A to the southeast, and the Agricultural Canada Research Lands to the south, and 58th Street to the west. Just trying to skim down to some of the more new information. In the current 2012-13 budget, there is Municipal Sustainability Initiative grant monies earmarked for the development of detailed design guidelines, which will help create a cohesive and comprehensive plan for physical improvements to the downtown. In addition, there are 2013 capital monies earmarked for public realm improvements. The plan in question will not involve a large-scale rezoning project completed by the city, but the city will allow for owner-directed rezoning. So applicants who wish to rezone their property to lower density will have that opportunity. The city will be bearing the cost of these applications and will assist all property owners through this process. This will exclude any applications for upzoning to a higher density through this initiative. In addition, all proposed intensification will be required to meet the standards and guidelines of this plan as outlined in the development concept. And this, of course, will provide us with guidance for recommending any future rezoning applications. So once this is passed, the guidance that the Heart of Town plan gives us will no longer be applicable, except in the case of the few applications that have come in under the Heart of Town plan. I've also included a few documents in response to the discussion held at the public hearing in regards to the Heart of Town plan, bylaw 73, and its effects on property. I've created a summary which includes a timeline of key events. So in 1986, Land Use Bylaw 73 was adopted. In 1999, Heart of Town bylaw was adopted. In 1999 as well, there was a land use bylaw amendment to bylaw 73, which incorporated the changes proposed by the Heart of Town Plan into our land use bylaw. And in 2003, bylaw 73 was repealed and is no longer in force. And bylaw 300 was adopted and replaced all zoning completed under the previous land use bylaw 73 and its amendments. Some key information with the Heart of Town Plan: it provided numerous amendments to the land use bylaw, including the deletion of the mobile home district and the 50th Avenue overlay, the addition of the manufactured home district, the medium density residential district, the maximum density multi-unit residential district, and the residential architectural theme overlay. It also changed the regulations for the residential districts R1A and R1B and R1C and R1D, R2, which is residential district, and residential district R3. Due to this, there was wide-scale rezoning throughout the entire community to incorporate the new land use districts that were created and to reflect the amended nature of them. I compiled a chart that provides a history of the R1B and R2 districts from the last amendment created before the Heart of Town Plan was incorporated, so September 13th, 1999. The land use bylaw as it was due to the changes from the Heart of Town Plan. Bylaw 300 at its passage in 2003, and then the current bylaw as it reads today. So I've used the examples of the R1B district and the R2 district. The items highlighted in red have been consistent through all 4 incarnations of these land use districts. The items in black have evolved over time. So as an example, R1B, which today is known for being primarily single-family residential, prior to the adoption of the Heart of Town Plan, this zoning allowed for duplexes. It also allowed for funeral homes and other uses that are more commonly found, for instance, duplexes, in our current R2 zoning. So everything shifted a great deal with the addition of the higher density zoning. And for instance, the R2 zoning used to allow 4plexes, and now it doesn't. So everything has shifted as a result of the Heart of Town Plan. The Heart of Town Plan actually made some of these districts, the lower end R1s and R2s, a lot less dense than what they used to be. So that provides a bit of information as to clarification about how things have progressed over time, the implications of that previous plan, and how it affected the zoning throughout the community and the potential uses for the areas. So the staff is recommending that council proceed with second and third reading of this bylaw as amended.
Thank you, Planner Kirchner. Any questions of Jennifer? Just before I ask for second reading, I just have one question regarding the committee. Is it going to continue to be in place, or is this committee being dissolved at this point?
The main objective of the committee was to prepare this plan. I don't think there's been any further discussion as to whether they would continue after the plan has been adopted at this time. It's something that could be considered, whether it's the same committee or a different committee, that as periodic revisions occur, like a large-scale revision to make sure everything's on track in 5 years, that maybe we could have a committee review it, but I don't believe there'd be enough consistent actions to warrant it.
Thank you. Well, my reason for asking is just to publicly acknowledge the group, and hopefully we'll have a little bit of a celebration for all that hard work, because it was an awful lot of work to put into that. So thank you. Okay, I'd ask for second reading. Councilor Creasy?
Thanks, Deputy Mayor. I just have one question before I do so. I wanted to make sure that Council still has the opportunity to have input on the various items that were included in that dark plan as far as the downtown beautification clarification and whatnot. And it's hard to agree with every single thing in a huge report like that, so I just wanted to make sure that that was the case.
Director Mitchell?
I think as the speakers indicated at the last public hearing, this is a high-level strategic document. As we identified in the plan, there are some series of other plans that have to come out of it that are actually action plans, including architectural controls, certainly gateways. I know that's probably one of the bigger concerns from an infrastructure point of view. There's no budget with this plan, and so that's one of the things we'll have to come back to council in terms of how we implement some of these on more detail. So yes, council funds. Yeah.
Thank you for that, Michael. I appreciate it. Just wanted some clarification on it, so I would certainly recommend the council give second reading to bylaw 380 as amended.
Thank you. All those in favor? Oh, sorry. Peter?
Ask for further discussion. The couple quick comments. I agree with Grant in that there's a few things that I would like to talk about further, but again, this is a high-level document. I understand there is some budget money to create a design guideline within this particular budget year, so that'll come to council as well, I assume. Okay. Thanks, Jennifer, for having the minor little things taken care of, the accuracies.
No problem at all.
Okay, so just one question. You had given us this extra information, and which was greatly appreciated in understanding the evolution of the land use bylaw as it also related to the heart of town, etc. Was there, and I know this will come up in the public hearing section, but was there an understanding of how it was handled at that time when the general rezoning was done after the heart of town plan came into effect? I mean, we would assume that the MGA was followed. Was there a time limit that people had? I'm just asking for some clarification because I think that's going to come up. And the next item being is that we're going to give our residents opportunity within this DARP to downgrade, if I may put it that way, their zoning on their properties. Does that, is there going to be a time limit attached to that as well? Because I think there should be, otherwise 5 years from now someone's going to say, well, hold on a second, I think there needs to be a time limit put on that, but that also means that every property owner needs to be informed directly. Thank you.
So were you looking for some clarification on the first question at this point?
It will need to come up tonight. So if we can get some clarification, that would be helpful.
Norman?
To Councillor Bosma, certainly we haven't worked out all of the details in terms of down zoning and the time frame attached to that. Those details will be worked out. Right now we're introducing the concept that we're going to allow and permit that to happen, and certainly we'll come back with those details.
And I appreciate that, but I think it's the other question before that how the rezoning was done back in 2003 or 1999. I think it was 1999 or 2000 when they first used that heart of town plan.
Yeah, that's been the impetus from day one to redo the heart of town plan. Is the entire downtown was done as there was a massive rezone of the entire area. We haven't been able to find record as to whether those steps were in terms of following notification or the MGA were done. I can tell you, as an amendment to 73, that would have required notification to all the affected landowners directly. We don't know whether that was followed or not. Complicating this matter further from a public point of view, of course, is the adoption of bylaw 300, which essentially wiped out 73 altogether. And that's the bylaw that's before us today. And that did not require, because it's a brand new bylaw, that does not require individual notification of property owners. So that's why we've put forward a recommendation that we would look at a down zone opportunity for those who want it. We've offered that in the past, and that's why we have offered this time around. We didn't do this as and I'm not sure how many people actually take up on this. We did offer this through the Heritage Overlay, and of course, there's quite a number of opposition from those even who were upzoned, who, because their neighbor weren't going to be downzoned, they didn't want to be downzoned. So, again, we're gonna have to do this rather on a short timeline, because we don't want to, as you mentioned, extend this into indefinite. We prefer to do this as one bylaw deal. And that's otherwise we'll end up with a whole series of amendments.
Any other questions before we have a second reading? Can I ask for someone to provide that? Oh, I'm sorry. Grant, you already made the motion for second reading?
That's
okay.
correct.
Sorry. That's right too, and I was gonna ask for the vote. Okay, all those in favor? Thank you, carried. Okay, next. And we need third reading.
So,
Grant?
rather than that, I wanted to ask a question. This is because this is a high level document, there's been an awful lot of work on it. I'm just wondering if it would be in our best interest to postpone this till next reading. I'm just wondering what's the reason behind doing both this evening? Is there something that's where time is that critical?
I guess the only thing is we are still continuing to get rezone applications in the downtown. You've got two before you already. A third was given first reading tonight. Although this doesn't bind council, it certainly binds administration in terms of the recommendations that we do give you in terms of what rezonings we support and others that we don't. There are enough significant changes between the heart of town plan and this plan as regards to what we would be recommending in terms of individual applications. So that's in terms of timeliness. That's the only real issue for us in terms of trying to get out of one plan and into from a infrastructure point of view, all those things. There's no rush in terms of getting approved.
Okay, so I would ask for third reading, Councilor Bowman.
I will make a motion to have third reading to bylaw 380 as amended.
All those in favor? And carried, thank you. The last one on the list under bylaws that we can deal with right now is the bylaw enforcement, dog control amendments to bylaw 265 and the schedules. CEO McCoy, are you taking this away?
Deputy Mayor Foster, I'll turn this over to our Director of Corporate Services, Michael.
Thank you.
Thank you. I apologize right off the bat. Based on the input from council back in November, we've made a number of changes. The bylaw amendment now is as long and as big as the original bylaw. This probably would have been done better as a brand new bylaw from scratch. The nuisance bylaw has been pulled. We were supposed to do the nuisance bylaw tonight. It has as many amendments. We've pulled that. We'll be getting a brand new bylaw. But since this has already received first reading, administration has decided to move forward in this context. Of course, bylaw of the public we'll see will be a consolidated version. So with that said, we've really have rewritten this bylaw in a number of areas, whole new definitions, but I guess there's probably 3 or 4 areas of note that I want to highlight. One, we have identified the area with regards to requirement of leashes in areas, public areas, and we've received legal correspondence as well as to regard length of leash. The other area, of course, is we've redone the whole ticketing point of view, and that's more of an administration requirement. We now separate between what's a violation, municipal tag, which is what we deal with on a voluntary basis, and versus a violation, which is a provincial court appearance, and the process that's required with that. The other issue is we've dealt with the 3 dogs component and the grandfathering of that. And how we're going to enforce force loose from move forward basis. So those are the really high level perspective. With regards to the leash, we have changed that to, I know there was some question about how long that would be. We still are recommending the 6 feet. I believe it does say it as long as in the exact wording in the bylaw does allow for it to be longer as long as it can be pulled back to the 6 feet. There's some slight nuances in the wording in that to allow for certain instances. There have been a number of instances in Calgary recently with regards to attacks of dogs on dogs that really raised this issue about leash and what is control of an animal. In terms of what is and what's we've identified as well, in 4.1, what is an offense, and so those have been clarified a little further as well. And the only other issue we've clarified, because we do have off-leash bylaws, we do have 2 areas, 2 separate provisions that deal with what is running at large inside or being under control within a leash area, off-leash area, and what is being considered under control outside of a leash area.
Thanks, Michael. Any questions, any comments? Councillor Creasy?
So there are certainly some positive things that happen with this bylaw. This length of leash ones is not one of them, and quite frankly, I'm a little shocked that we had to waste our time and money to get a lawyer's opinion on the length of leash. This is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, to state that the leash has to, or the owner has to have direct control and care of his animal, I think speaks volumes more than a specific length. I mean, maybe we should talk to the strength of them as well. This 6-foot thing is just blows me away. What a waste of time and money. But on a positive note, getting rid of the timing and whatnot on barking and that kind of thing was great. But this leash thing, I think it's not helpful at all.
Anyone else? Councillor Baldwin?
Thanks, Deputy Mayor Foster. I'm very happy in that there was that comparison document created, and I think that was very helpful to understand the before and after. I do have one quick question, and that is under 4.1, item F, a dog is left unattended in any motor vehicle. That is going to happen, as we can well imagine. If someone takes a dog along to a shopping center and leaves the dog in the vehicle, they would be automatically guilty of an offense then. And I'm not so sure that is appropriate. Can you comment?
That one deals more with dogs that are left unattended on the back or on the outside of pickup trucks, as opposed to being in the passenger compartment. We don't regulate a whole lot. I know the vet has been pushing for us to require them to be in kennels in the back, but we haven't made that recommendation yet. But as long as they're restrained, so whether they're restrained in the compartment or they're restrained being attached to a leash on the back so that they're unable to access anyone from the outside of the vehicle. So that's the intent on the back part.
Anyone else? If I could, I'd just like to comment on the leash aspect. Michael, you had indicated that there may be an opportunity for some question as to what's controllable on a leash that is further out than 6 feet, and being able to pull it back to 6 feet. I'm just wondering, are we okay with this? Are we gonna have a problem with taking that to the next step, I guess? Because to me, I certainly understand you know, and I understand what Councillor Creasy was saying, but I also feel that there are lots of animals that that are on an extended leash that people are uncomfortable when they start jumping up on others and that sort of thing, whereas the shorter leash obviously will certainly look after that problem. Just while you're looking that up, Grant, you have, or
The only one that I see is under 4.2.1, point F. For the purpose of this bylaw, definitions are as follows, and it says the 6 feet in length. There again, I think this is a difficult one to enforce for starters, to expect our bylaw officers to carry a tape measure with them and measure leash length and whatnot. And for some dogs, maybe 6 feet is too long. The whole idea behind the leash is to have the animal under the owner's direct control. I mean, some of them, I don't know, maybe 50 feet is fine. I don't know, but I don't think there's any magic about 6 feet. I think putting length on it is counterproductive.
Michael, do you recall the area that you could say,
Oh,
you
yeah,
just
so-
mentioned
sorry,
that part.
so I have reviewed this, and it is no longer than 6 feet, sorry.
So,
Thinking it was that way.
so that answers that question. Peter?
Just to refer back to the length of leash, I don't want us to take more time than necessary, but this is still at the discretion of the peace officer. I would expect if I wouldn't expect him to go around looking for people that are having dogs on a longer leash and just automatically give them a ticket. If that is the case, then we have an issue. But if there is discretion assumed by the CPO that the dog is under control, there has not been a complaint, then I would anticipate that would just be left alone. Does that make sense?
Makes complete sense. I mean, it is simply if there's a problem, then it becomes the next part. Right. So, all right, is everybody okay with where we're at? And I'll ask for second reading.
I'll make a motion to give second reading to bylaw number 265.6 as amended.
Thank you, Councillor Pozna. All those in favor? Carried. And third reading, third and final. Councillor Connick?
I also move that council give third and final reading to bylaw 265.6.
Thank you. All those in favor? And carried. So on the agenda, we'll go to unfinished business, lands and buildings, Len Thompson Phase 2. CEO report.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Foster. Before you tonight, Council, is the business plan for Len Thompson Phase 2. And of course, this is a new industrial area that we have created within the city. As you were, we did review this at your committee meeting last week, and certainly we want to bring this before the public. And note that it was one of Council's strategic priorities to ensure that land resources are in place in the community. And this year we sold our last industrial lot that the city owned. Therefore, we were proactive in terms of going forward and ensuring that we had additional service industrial lots, as well as ensuring that we acquired land for our internal use for a public works shop. So within this this outline plan and this business plan, we have 10 acres for a public works shop, as well as 14 individual industrial lots for industrial use. This really addresses, I guess, two goals or two objectives within the city. The first is that it provides us with a more appropriate site for our public works facility. And secondly, it provides us with service industrial land that's ready to be developed. I'll just at this time tell you that we are in the midst of rezoning this land. We're in the midst of considering the detailed design for this site, as well as subdivision. So certainly we're at the point now where, once these items have been completed, the land can be developed. In terms of cost, the total input cost in terms of developing this site is $5,829,099. Now, of this, we're able to sell land for a retail price of $250,135. Now, when I say when we retail land for this price, that is to the public. We're able to ensure that we have land for our own purposes for $180,838 per acre. So that is the price that we, the city, will pay per acre of land to develop our public works site. In terms of the costs that have been considered for this project, we have lot costs, we have the recovery, and lot costs include things like stripping and grading, land costs, site servicing, street lights, MR contribution, and off-site levies. Within the recovery of municipal infrastructure, we have, of course, water, wastewater, and storm. And then we have additional recoveries, and those include things like legal expenses, advertising, commission, and the development of the MR. In terms of the amortization of the borrowing that we will do for this development, and we do intend to borrow, we're going to amortize over 15 years for site servicing costs and over 5 years to actually acquire and purchase the land. So at this time, I would like to recommend to council that you adopt this business plan for Len Thompson Phase 2 this evening, and that we move forward with this development.
Thank you, Nora. Questions, comments? Councillor Bosma?
Thanks, Deputy Mayor Foster. Just a quick question. I understand the site servicing costs being amortized over 15 years. Depending on how that is done, is there a possibility if land sells quickly, et cetera, that we can eliminate that indebtedness in a quite a bit shorter period of time?
To Councillor Bosma, in regard to that question, the short answer is yes. Certainly, I believe our interest costs are in the area of $760,000. And if we do sell those lots quickly, then that will dramatically reduce those interest costs, yes.
Well, I'd just like to add that this is certainly proceeding in the right direction, and thank staff for getting us to this point, and I would ask that somebody move that we adopt this phase plan. Councillor Kate?
I'll move that council adopt the Len Thompson Industrial Park Phase 2 business plan as presented.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Oh, are we not going to have any discussion on that?
Sorry, go ahead.
Thanks, Deputy Mayor. So, as everybody here in this room is aware, I will bring forward an alternate development for this particular location, which was seen as unfit. And now that, in fact, that it's not going to go that way, I was wondering if the administration would like to state reasons as to why the alternate development was not entertained.
Is this the appropriate part for this one?
To Councillor Creasy, we are going to have a discussion in regard to that offer in camera later this evening, so it certainly will be discussed at that time in camera.
Okay. Seeing that I had excused myself from those other meetings, it makes it pretty difficult for me to properly vote on this particular item at this time without those other discussions having taken place first.
To Councillor Creasy, I don't know that you'll wish to remain for the discussions in camera this evening. Certainly that's your choice to do so.
No, and I fully appreciate that. Thank you, CEO. I guess what I'm getting at is I would expect there to be some sort of motion to come out of that in-camera session, which could impact the way that I vote on this particular item at this time. So I'm just wondering timing schedule, that's all I'm asking for.
Is that appropriate?
Certainly, Councillor Creasy, this item could be addressed after the in-camera session, yes, that could be moved.
Well, if Chairman would care to do so, I would certainly appreciate it.
Okay, we'll hold that vote until after it's been moved, but we will have the vote afterwards then. Thank you. So next, under new business, council and legislative, we have the 2012 Lacombe Taxpayers Association FOIP requests. There's a report. CEO McCoy.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Foster. Before you this evening, Council, are the costs that are associated with the research that has been done in terms of the FOIP requests that have come forward from the Lacombe Taxpayers Association. At your last regular meeting, there was significant discussion about the type of requests that have been received, of course, some of which are not FOIP in nature. So some of the requests have been general requests, and certainly the administration and council are not obligated to respond to those requests, but we have done so, and we've done so in a timely manner and in accordance with any regulations. So also at your last meeting, you determined that in order to try and deter some of these costs, that the Lacombe Taxpayers Association would be charged any fees under the FOIP legislation. And we would also consult with the Privacy Commissioner of Alberta in terms of the type of requests that we're receiving. So administration has undertaken to do so, and that is in progress. For the purposes of the information tonight, I wanted to share with you the total financial implications of those requests to date. And the total amount is $19,209 in terms of the cost to research, to consult with legal advisors, and to respond to the information received. So this is presented to you as information tonight.
Thank you, CEO McCoy. Any questions, comments? Councillor Creasy.
Thanks, Deputy Mayor. So, I guess while it's unfortunate that these types of requests cost us anything, they in fact do, part of doing business, and it's kind of a moot point as far as I'm concerned, simply because any group or any individual is still entitled to ask FOIPable information anytime they so choose. So I mean, I guess I'm just wondering what the reasoning behind taking the time to calculate these numbers is. I fail to understand that version of it.
We had asked for that information as council members.
Nope.
I sure did.
Yeah, we did in a couple of meetings ago. We asked for a breakdown.
That's
I
why I
remember
asked the
distinctly.
question.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Foster. I had a number of comments from citizens requesting information on what it was costing us to get all this information out, especially because vast majority of it wasn't FOIP in nature. It was general questions, and so I know myself specifically had asked that we could get a breakdown of costs for what it has cost the rest of the taxpayers in Lacombe to do all these reviews and look at go through all the emails and get all the information. So that request came from me, and I think it was agreed by others that they would also like to hear that information. So that's where it came from.
Okay, thank you for that. So, Mr. Chairman, then I guess the thing I don't understand is both what Councilor Rempel said in here, then that some of the information that the LTA, or I assume it was the LTA, requested was not FOIP in nature. So there shouldn't be any costs incurred with that portion. I mean, we didn't answer it if it wasn't FOIP. I'm assuming, is that reasonable, or?
CEO McCoy.
To Councillor Creasy, in fact, the administration did answer non-FOIP questions, so we went to great lengths to compile information for the LTA, and certainly much of it was not FOIP in nature.
thank you for that clarification, because it's just, it didn't make sense to me. I'm thinking, why are we spending time answering non-FOIP questions, which it was done, and there was some cost associated with that, which is reasonable or expected. So in the future, rather than incurring additional costs for questions that are asked that are not FOIPable, could I assume that whoever asks the question and it is not FOIPable will be told that it is not FOIPable, and where they can find the information elsewhere?
You're absolutely correct in that statement, Councillor Creasy, yes.
Thank you.
Councillor Ripples.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Foster. And I totally agree with what you're saying, Grant, as far as making sure that if those aren't FOIP, that we probably shouldn't answer them. I think that part of what was being done was these questions were coming up, and a lot of these items would be council and the city would be what's the word I want to use here? It would be asked in, for example, the local newspaper or other things, why we wouldn't answer certain requests, and so we, I think, as the city wanted to make sure that that information was getting out there, even though it wasn't FOIP, and now that the understanding is if it isn't that, we just aren't going to answer them. Will that stop us being criticized? Maybe, maybe not. I think at least the public and our taxpayers know that we have said that we won't answer those questions now, and I fully support the way that's going to happen now.
Thank you, and if I might ask a question, then the FOIP questions that are asked are $50 per item. That is the requirement by law. Is that what I'm understanding?
To Deputy Mayor Foster, the initial fee payable is $25 for a FOIP request.
Thank you for the clarification. I saw 50 somewhere and I wasn't going back. Okay, so thank you very much for this report. Councillor Bobbleman?
I'm just trying to understand these costs that are noted here to total $19,209. I'm wondering why $12.50 is considered to be a cost. It's actually not a collectible revenue that would have been put against the cost. You know, you don't have $19,000 worth of cost. You have $18,000 or just under $18,000 worth of cost, and because you couldn't, we couldn't reduce that by $1,250. So it should $12.50 shouldn't be in there, in my opinion.
To Councillor Bosma, you're correct. It was an uncollected revenue, so it was not an expense.
Okay, anything else on this item? Could I have someone move that we accept this for information? Councillor Bosma?
I'll make a motion that council accepts this report as information.
Thank you. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, next under new business, Canadian Pacific Community Advisory Council, C.O. McCoy.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Foster. This item is before council, asking you to adopt the amended terms of reference. And the amendments to the terms of reference deal primarily with the name, the meeting schedule, and a correction in terms of correcting Lacombe to Leduc within the duties. So I'd ask council to adopt the terms of reference as amended.
Thank you. Any questions, any comments? Councillor Creasy?
Thank you. I can't quote whatever subsection was, but as far as the chair duties being relegated to each of the communities, is that something that is seen as favorable by the smaller communities? I mean, quite often they either don't choose to be involved in a lot of these larger committees, or certainly don't have the time or resources to chair them. I'm just wondering if that is something that has been discussed with them. I mean, I understand that on the surface that appears to be fair, but if they're unwilling to do so, it's not very practical.
Councillor Connick?
If I may, Deputy Mayor Foster address that question, given that I sit on this committee. That was one question that was broached with them, but given that it's only biannually, it's 2 meetings a year. They felt that they could easily accommodate a couple meetings a year, and it's on a 2-year rotation. So really, it's 4 meetings you've got to host. That's basically it. You've got to provide a facility. The minutes and so forth are all kept by the same individual, so they don't have to do that. It's just basically just a place to have the meeting, and each one of these communities has a council chamber, if you will, or a meeting room at any rate. So, yeah, no, the agreement was with the other smaller community was that was fine.
Thank you for that clarification. Like I said, it wasn't my aim to eliminate the smaller communities from being involved. I just thought that there was a lot more work going on behind the scenes other than just the meeting, that's all. Okay, thanks.
No, and again, this is really brought forward by CP because they're trying to apply these terms of reference to every one of their caps throughout Western Canada. So this is kind of the blueprint or the template for that, and yeah, it seems to work well for us.
Thanks for that, everyone. Any other comments before I ask for somebody to adopt this? Councillor Connick?
I would just like to move that council adopt the amended terms of reference for the Lacombe Area Municipality CP Community Advisory Panel.
Thank you. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Just going to take a minute to go through the agenda because I think we're at the point where we're either into reports or we have one more. One, sorry. Yes, thank you. Recreation, Parks and Culture Services Strategic Plan for Regional Recreation, as CEO McCoy. Director Vaughan, thank you.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor Foster. So before council tonight is a draft of the results of the meeting that was hosted by Lacombe County. You may recall that Lacombe County indicated interest in developing a master regional recreation plan, and to start that process they invited all of the municipalities that they currently cost share services with to a meeting in October. We attended that meeting in October with the other municipalities, and a facilitator that's been hired by the county managed the meeting and has since put together a document, and there's a draft attached to our agenda for your review. The beginnings of this project are simply for the county to develop a regional strategy document, policy, or plan that would guide future funding opportunities when they are approached by municipalities, is one issue. The second issue is they were interested in investigating the willingness or the capacity of the region to think more regionally when we are building services or developing services or offering services. And so that was really the nugget of the discussion. What they're asking for now is that all of the municipalities reassemble, and they are asking for 3 councillors to attend and some administrative staff. In our case, that the administration will be CAO McCory, myself, and the Recreation Manager Sandy Stewart. Councillor Foster, who attended the first session, has agreed to attend this subsequent session, but we are looking for 2 other councillors to attend that meeting. And the meeting will be held January 29th at the LMC. It's a half-day workshop, and the intention is to review this draft and provide further feedback to the county.
Thanks, Director Vaughan. Any questions before I point out 2 volunteers? Councillor Pusey.
Thanks, Deputy Mayor. So, given the 3 strategies there that they've come up with as far as cost sharing and identifying the recreational needs, I think it's important for us to be involved in this because there's, with people's expectation these days of recreation, there's just no way that we can afford to do everything for everyone in each community. And it's just, and Lacombe is certainly one of the bigger ones in the area. So we've got the most expectations and the most bills. So in saying that, I think that we should certainly support this and take part in it. just to let you know before you pick your volunteers that I'm out of the country during this time, otherwise I would certainly like to be involved in this process.
Thank you. Anyone that would like to, before we accept this for information, anyone else that would like to sit on this? Councillor Rumpel?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Foster. I would like to, but unfortunately I will also be out of the country at this time, so please don't pick me for a choice.
The options are getting more limited. Councillor Bowles?
I will not be out of the country at that particular time. So I'd be more than willing to sit as well.
Thank you very much.
If you say they're voting, I can do that.
Thank you, Councillor Kite. So we have a full group for Brenda. So do you have any other comments?
Just a follow-up to Councillor Creasy's comments. Certainly when we leave that meeting on the 29th, we'll understand what the future is of this draft document, and we will be bringing that back and presenting it to the Recreation Board. And it will be certainly coming back to this council. And we have already had substantial input. We have seen some shifts in the document between its first incarnation and this one. But my intention would be to bring it back for further discussion once we hear back from the larger group. So even though you may not be able to attend this meeting, I anticipate council having some input at a future time.
Awesome. So can we have someone, now that we have our volunteers in place, can I have someone adopt this information? Councillor Creasy.
Thanks, Chairman Foster. So I would so move that we accept the county's recreation master plan as information.
Thank you. All those in favor? Okay, so we need to make a motion to appoint Councillor Kite and Councillor Bosma to accept the and Foster, sorry. Councillor Connick.
Well, just for clarification on that motion, it's not, can you read it back to me, because we're not approving the rec plan.
Just the participants.
Yeah, that's, the motion didn't say that.
No, we accepted information.
Yeah, the county rec plan. It's not the it's not the final rec.
No, we're just accepting the information. It's just a letter.
Yeah, it was just the information.
It wasn't adopted, it wasn't.
That should say is a letter then, not the rec plan. It's not the rec plan.
So our
That's the strategic plan as information.
yeah. So are we being too formal, do you think, by putting these names forth, or are we just internally will send the three? Is that what you're basically getting at, Ruben?
No, I'm asking for clarification on the motion, please.
Could we have Kristen read the motion back?
That council accepts the strategic plan for regional recreation as information.
Well, that's how I would definitely word it, because all it is information. We're not adopting anything, we're not approving anything, so I'm okay with that.
Before we have any other comments from councillors, CEO McCory.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Foster. I would just add that council is accepting the strategic plan process as information.
And Councillor Kate, did you have your?
I just wanted to comment because the document that is before us specifically just says that it is the regional recreation strategic plan, and that's what we are accepting as information. Is that not correct?
It is correct, Councillor Kite, but I believe that the process is continuing.
Director Vaughn?
So may we just add in the draft?
Number 2.
So if we just add in the word draft to the regional recreation strategic plan, then we will be certain that it's not the final document.
Okay, so please tell me where we're at with that motion. Have we voted on it already or not?
I was gonna say, as a mover of that particular one, I'd like to thank you for recording it like I was thinking, not like I was speaking. Because I in fact did misname it, so if we could add in the draft number 2 portion and correctly name the document, that would be just great. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Creasy. All those in favor of that motion? Carried. Now we have the appointment of the 3 councillors, Foster, Bausma, and Kite, to be voted on. And we'll have.
I'll make that
Councillor
motion.
Make that motion.
For those 3 to be appointed to the strategic plan for regional recreation.
All that meeting?
For January 29th. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. All those in favor? Thank you. Carried. Okay, we have 2 more additions to the agenda that, sorry, between my electronic and my paper motion, I had forgot about the other 2. So the snow removal was the first one that I believe Councillor Bausma had raised. Do you want to take it away?
Yes, I just would like to have just a general discussion and an understanding. There's been a number of residents that have contacted me regarding snow removal in our community. I've had pluses and minuses that have come through to me, positives and negatives, I guess you should say, in that some people are very happy when we remove snow, and other people say, why did you remove snow so quickly? So, you know, there's no rhyme or reason actually in that particular item. But the concern that I have is that I've had a few residents contact me regarding removal of some windrows when it relates directly to sidewalks that approach from a resident's front door to the street. We have, as I have received information from Public Works, the policy is that snow removal is for vehicular movement of traffic. You know, that's it. It is not considered to be for pedestrian traffic. My thought, though, is that we have numerous locations within our community where driveways are not part of a person's front yard. And yes, the city will remove any windrow that happens to be within a driveway, but when there is no driveway, the city refuses so far to remove any windrow from a sidewalk that happens to come from the front door to the street. The collection of materials of snow in a windrow is always compacted snow, and it is very heavy. And one resident, as an example, said she was hooped because she couldn't physically do it herself. It was necessary, and her husband was away out of the country, and so she counted on a neighbor to have to remove this snow. It seems to me that if we are very fair in removing snow from driveways, then I think it would only take a minute or 2 to consider removing of snow in front of people's sidewalks where there is no driveway. So that allows for some, you know, respect for pedestrian movement as well.
Thank you. You on the board?
To Councillor Bosma, certainly I understand the situation in terms of that snow being compacted and very difficult to remove. What we can do administratively, we can go back and we can cost out, if we were to remove that snow, what that additional cost would be. And certainly as far as resources, it would require additional resources as well.
Anyone else with Councillor Kite or Councillor Connick?
Starts with a K, you're close. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Foster. I too have had a couple comments, one regarding that issue. Again, I don't think it's so much removal. They don't remove driveway snow now, they just push it onto the lawn. And I think it's just a case of that same Bobcat now taking a little chunk out where the sidewalk comes out to the street and just pushing it onto the lawn. I don't think the issue is the removal. It's just the issue making that access open. Again, it's the person who came in was an elderly gentleman, and he lives in of course, in the downtown core here. And he made a good point as well, is that, you know, for example, he had a neighbor, you know, a couple doors down where the ambulance had to get in, and they had to physically lift over the windrow, get up to the house, and then put the person on the stretcher up over the windrow. So there's another issue there, and I realize it's going to be, I think that the cost is the time. It's not so much, we're not asking for the removal, but it's the time to take that additional bobcat, or take that bobcat and take a swipe onto the sidewalk as well, and just move that snow onto the lawn so that it's open. I know what happens in front of my place. I shovel it, but it is heavy. I mean, these are chunks of compacted snow, and it can be very heavy. The other comment I wanted to make, the other thing I've heard, is the snow piling up at the yield signs and stop signs. And it's not at every intersection, but there are some intersections, and I drove around, and where you come up to the yield sign and you can't see oncoming traffic because of the snow piled at the yield sign. So I think going forward we have to address that issue as well.
Thanks, Councillor Connick. I also had, well, I'll just wait. Is there anyone else that wishes to talk about the snow? Councillor Rebel?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Foster. Speaking of the intersections, I absolutely agree. Councillor Connick, I have had a couple of comments on those. I haven't had any comments on the removal of windrows in front of houses, but I have definitely had comments about the snow piling up on the corners, and I, in fact, one of our first snowfalls did phone Public Works and mentioned a couple of corners that were that I went and actually checked out, and it was hard to see the traffic. The sight lines were blocked, and I think we do need to look at that, because it probably would have been a little easier to have the tractor, bobcat, whichever one that was there at the time, moving that snow to actually push that the tops of those piles a little bit further. They said that what they normally do is when they plow the street and then they pile it up in the corners, they come back and will fix any sight lines. To me, that doesn't make sense. To me, if you're there piling up the snow, make sure it's moved right away instead of coming back. So that is definitely an issue that I have heard. As well, I want to say in the last, well, today I think I had 3 or 4 comments on how people were very happy with how quickly we are getting those streets clean. So there's definitely, obviously we're doing something right there as well. But I think we can always improve in a few spots. So kudos to the Public Works getting the stuff done, because it's a lot of snow right now. So good job.
Councillor Creasy.
Next. Thank you, Chairman. While we're on the subject of snow, because of the location of my business, I get to hear from lots of people who travel Wolf Creek Drive and see our city-owned pole moving snow, or stacking snow on our lot down there. And it's a very difficult thing for me to justify having being done. So, trying to be nice about it, I've had several people suggest that we might try putting snow in other locations, such as on the western end of the property that we have got allocated for Biorefinex. Might be an appropriate spot for some additional snow that wouldn't require us to move it yet again, the flow down there. And also, I've had people ask why we were not putting snow along Wolf Creek on our newly acquired property in the Len Thompson area, and thereby not requiring us to move it yet again as well. So I did have some positive solutions for this problem, but they weren't quite as polite when it came to using the city equipment to restack snow on the former truck parking lot.
Okay. Just a couple of comments from people that have talked to me. The corner intersection seems to be a bit of an issue, so I did talk to Bylaw, and they assure me that when they see an intersection that is got sight lines that are not appropriate, they do get in contact with Public Works. But obviously, they're not gonna see everything, so if we see something and we can identify, and I would encourage the public to do the same, because it can happen, and what's the proper sight line, you know, it might be a judgment thing, but I think safety is gonna be our first issue all the time. And secondly, I just like to echo what Councillor Rempel has said. I've lived in a lot of communities. I've never had snow removed in my streets ever until I moved to Lacombe. So I'm darn happy with what we have. Is it perfect? No. Are we going to make everyone happy? No, we certainly aren't. But I think we've identified the most important part is that vehicular traffic is what needs to move. We need to move it for many reasons. So thank you for that, bringing that forward, Pierre. The last one that we have is the police radar photo issue. Councillor Connick, you wanted to bring something up?
Yes, thank you, Deputy Mayor Foster. Of course, the general public isn't privy to this, but we had some emails circulating amongst council members asking questions about this photo radar program going forward. And I wanted to just touch on a few things this evening about that. My concern is I have really two questions or two concerns I'd like to bring up. One, I'm wondering what the process is in terms of revisiting certain items. The reason I bring that up is that the truck parking lot is a good example of that. For example, we decided some time ago that we were going to do this. Money was allocated, plans were drawn up, so forth, and we voted and we decided to go ahead. I know I received some pushback from some people, some trucking company owners in town who thought that wasn't a good idea. Whatever, we decided we were going to go ahead. Things changed, happened. A couple lots that we had in the industrial park that we were storing snow on. Somebody wanted to buy them, so we said, hey, let's put this on the truck parking lot. And in the course of the day, we kind of came to the conclusion that we weren't going to go ahead with this as a result. And that's my understanding. I don't believe we did a formal motion to that effect, but we ended up saying in the end we weren't going to go ahead with the truck parking lot. And who knows what we do with that land in the future. So I'm just wondering why it is that that kind of thing we can change our minds on, if you will. But when it comes to like this photo radar, I get a sense we get a little bit of pushback. Maybe that's just me, but and so that's the first point I want to make. The second is that I wanted to reiterate my reasons for voting for it. At the time that the motion came forth, it was in the middle of June. We were in the middle of the pilot project for the CPO, or the start of the project. Either way, we hadn't decided on the CPO at that time. It was just the pilot project. My thinking at that time was that I wanted something in place, whether it be photo radar or the CPO. I didn't want to assume at that time that the CPO was going to go ahead. Maybe, I don't know, I didn't want to make that assumption. Maybe I should have, given the numbers that were coming in. It would have been naive of me to think that we weren't going to, given the revenue that was coming in. But I didn't want to make that assumption at that time, and I wanted something in place, given that the LPS, traffic enforcement perhaps isn't their number one priority. They do it, but they have other things on their plate. But I wanted something to happen. That's the reason why I voted for that. Since then, of course, the CPO has done an outstanding job, and we decided to go ahead with that. I know it's been said that the CPO will work, go part and parcel with photo radar, and the two would supplement each other. However, I feel they are redundant, in fact, to my thinking at any rate. And so that's the reason that I'm thinking I would personally, it doesn't have to happen tonight, but I would like to see us, before it goes to RFP, the RFP is signed, that we have another chance just to, if you will, talk about it and perhaps have another vote. Again, my understanding maybe is different than everyone else in this room, but that was my understanding at the time, that I had thought that we were going to do one or the other, not both. So those are my two comments that I would like to bring up.
CEO McCoy, would you like to respond?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Foster, to Councillor Connick. Certainly, Councillor Connick, at this time there is a motion that was passed and endorsed by Council to move forward with voter radar. However, if you wish to introduce a motion to Council, you can do so by notice of motion. You can either do that in writing or verbally. So tonight, if you wish to make a notice of motion that would be counter to what was decided by Council, that's fine. You can do so. And certainly we would hear that at the next regular meeting of Council.
Well, if that's possible, I certainly wouldn't mind doing that. I'm just looking, is it at the end of this?
It is at the end of the agenda.
End of the agenda?
Councillor Connick, yes.
Okay, well then I can do that at that time then.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Creasy?
Thanks, Chairman. I was just curious, just to keep the things moving along correctly with regards to that, should we not rescind the initial one before bringing it back to the table?
To Councillor Creasy, no, we would not rescind the initial motion. Certainly, any motion that's brought forward by notice of motion may not necessarily be passed or adopted. So we would not touch that initial motion at this time.
Okay, thank you for that. So, just for clarification, in the meantime, we can assume that no contract has been signed with a provider?
Councillor Creasy, we have not signed a contract. We did go forward with an RFP. We do have a preferred proposal, but nothing has been signed.
Councillor Kate?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Just further to Councillor Connick's comments, one of the determining factors in the way I voted was that there definitely is a big difference in having photo radar versus what the CPO does, since the photo radar only addresses speed control issues, and our current CPO officer deals with a lot wider variety of issues than only speed.
Thank you. And just before we have about 5 minutes before public hearing, just for the record, I did allow the 2 items to be added to the agenda this evening. There is a process both for the public as well as council's indulgence in reading that information ahead of time. So if we need clarification how we go with that process, make sure that each one of us are aware of that process with the CAO. Thank you.
Can I move that we should take a 5-minute break time before our public meeting?
Okay, we got 5 minutes, so we can do that if everyone wants to, and then we can do the reports afterwards. Sure, thanks.
Hi, how are you? Hey, how are you doing? How are you doing? No. I don't know. I didn't even know. I was just wondering. I knew there was a bunch of rezoning, but I don't know if that's what they're talking about here. But okay, you got some more. You got a soccer game already. So the bus leaves at 7. So I got to let's open the an hour and a half or so. Just snow and dog legs. Yeah, I know. Come on now. Yeah, it's just trash. Yeah. Good camera. They don't care what you hear. No, no. Yeah. It's like the same thing. Now you gotta watch commercials.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
So we didn't have enough time to deal with that, and
Yeah, for sure, I know, yeah. That looks like it's gonna be another couple of years, huh?
it was good. Last year was decent, but
It's gonna be better this year.
yeah, I know, but from that, well, I thought it was going ahead with this, isn't it?
Well, I don't know what services are in there.
Well, no, they're waiting, have you got it up to height, their standards? See, that was part of their own, from what I gathered, anyway, they wanted it, no. And they said, we're not signing anything until, yeah.
They must have.
Yeah.
I guess that's,
Yeah.
Well, it'll sure help for.
thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to make a presentation? Excuse me, Mr. Chairman. Councilor Creasy?
Thank you. I was just curious then for some clarification, that last question for the EOS area, for the property immediately to the west of the properties located directly on Wolf Creek Drive over to Ortsa Green area. What is the designation there?
I believe it's already designated EOS, and that's why it was chosen not to include it. That's why other properties were also included in this, because they currently did not have the proper.
Right, and that was certainly my expectation. I just wanted some clarification from Mr. Armershaw so that he could understand that in fact the remainder is EOS. That he was under the impression was not.
Okay, anyone that made a presentation wish to make a concluding statement, please come forward. Any questions from council? If not, I will declare the public hearing closed. Okay, so we have our third and final public hearing on bylaw 300.72's rezoning R2 to C3. So again, the same process. I will start by declaring the statutory public hearing open, and that the hearing is held pursuant to section 7, 8, 230, 606, and 692 of the Municipal Government Act 2000 as amended. And I would ask Director Minchin to confirm the purpose of the public hearing.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before you tonight is a public bylaw for public hearing consideration, bylaw number 300.72. An application to redesignate lands described as Lot 6, Plan 9523562 from General Residential District R2 to Transitional Highway Commercial District C3. This bylaw was advertised, notice of this hearing was advertised in the Lacombe Globe for January 3rd and January 10th of 2013, as well as notification letters were sent out to adjacent landowners on December 12th, 2012. One letter related to the rezoning was received and included in your package.
Thank you, Director Minchin. Okay, so I would ask anyone giving oral presentations to clearly state their name, and that presentations are to be brief and to the point. And again, the order for statutory public hearing presentation will be Planner Jennifer Kirshner, then those in favor, those opposed, and those deemed to be affected that wish to be heard. So we'll start with Planner Kirshner.
Thank you. The city has received an application to redesignate the land described as Lot 6, Plan 9523562 from General Residential district to Transitional Highway Commercial District, C3. This application was received from Tom Braun for this rezoning. First reading of this bylaw took place at the regular City Council meeting on December 10th, 2012. The applicant is seeking rezoning in order to proceed with a potential application for a new business in the community. The potential business would see the development of man space or man cave, which would allow men or women to rent a space for use for their hobbies. In addition, this potential development would include an attached residence. Conceptual drawings have been provided to illustrate what the potential use might look like. This property is located within the Southeast Area Structure Plan. The future land use map, which is shown on the screen, labels this particular area as a special study area. This indicates that each property following within the special study area would include both commercial and residential uses on each property. The boundary of this area can be viewed on the map. This special study area is highlighted in the land use concept map of the Iron Wolf outline plan as well. Please go to the next page. This map calls for the area to be mixed use commercial with residences to be permitted. So you can take a look at that. It is the area in bright red. And the following map, which will be up on the screen in a minute, illustrates the diverse zoning that currently exists in the vicinity. There are light industrial properties located to the northwest. Diverse different residential properties, R2, R1B, and R1C, located to the south and southeast, and transitional highway commercial properties located to the north and northeast. This area is incredibly diverse, and staff feels that rezoning this property to highway transitional commercial would blend in with the existing commercial lots, C3 lots, and would provide a further buffer between the existing industrial lands and the existing residential neighborhood. Staff is recommending that once this public hearing has been closed, that Council give second and final reading to bylaw 300.72.
Thank you, Glenn Kirshner. Any questions of council? Okay, ask anyone in favor from the audience that wishes to come forward. Please state your name and please be brief.
My name is Tom Braun. I'm the one that submitted the application. Jennifer did a good job of describing what I'm looking to do there. I'm the one that's looking to put the development together. It will be my residence on site and looking for the man caves or garage units for the hobby enthusiast to work on cars or woodworking type stuff. And that's all I have.
Great, well thank you for coming and letting us know. And maybe we have some questions of you, Councillor Creasy.
Thank you, Mr. Braun. First of all, I commend you on the idea and whatnot. It sounds like a good one to me. I was just curious if you have had an opportunity to speak with the adjacent landowner who owns property around basically the entire perimeter.
I spoke with him once on the phone, and actually it's back in my court to talk to him again, but he seemed in favor of it. I'm not sure if he's here or not, but he seemed in favor of it and asked me if I was interested in buying his property as well.
Well, he in fact is here,
okay.
And I expect he will speak to it, but I just, well, while I am certainly in favor of this development, I think there's certainly some additional work that needs to be done, not to alter your plan, but to adjust some boundaries and whatnot here so that, in fact, that we do not create difficulties for future development of the remaining properties owned by Glendance Investments. I think that you'll find that he's very reasonable and most in favor of the redesignation of these lands as well. There's just some traffic flow issues and whatnot there that can be relatively easily addressed, and I think make both sides very happy with the outcome. So obviously you haven't met him, so that's Mr. Daniel in the far corner there. Perhaps you two can get together and and come up with some alternate, plans, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions of the presenter? Thank you very much. Is there anyone else in favor that wishes to come forth? Please state your name and be brief.
Clarence Stadman, adjacent landowner, and I am in favor of the rezoning. Actually, like Grant has mentioned, there are a few little boundary issues that I'd like to address in the future. But as far as the rezoning goes, I am all for it. So now that I know who Tom is, I think I can sit down with Tom and we can figure some things out.
Awesome, thank you for coming, and does anyone have any questions of Claire? Good, thank you. Okay, anyone opposed wishes to come forward? Any person deemed to be affected who wishes to be heard, please come forward. Okay, gentlemen, if you wish to make a concluding statement, either one or both, you're certainly welcome to do that. Otherwise, we'll thank you. Anything else from council before we, Councillor Connick?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Foster. So for my own clarification, when I look at the outline plan, the road looks like it comes right through the property in question, but am I to assume, looking at these other little lines on here, that that access will be moved to the east then, so that you can still access the properties in behind, is that correct?
Basically, the road outlined on the outline plan does not exist. It's a conceptual design that would work in theory if all the properties were owned by the same person and everything was to be developed at the same time. There is currently access to all of the lots from 46th Avenue, so by rezoning this or by having development occur on one lot and not the other, it won't impact the potential to still have adequate access to the lots.
Thank you.
Councillor Creasy?
On that same note, if we just turn to the attachments, the letter by Clarence Stadman of Lendas Investments, and that also speaks to that very same issue, Councillor Connick. Perhaps the last two there, the two hand sketches with the potential configuration indicate a bulb approach. Down one more. There you go. So that one or the next one, I think, is pretty much the same thing there. So I think that offers perhaps a more intelligent route to go, and I'm hopeful that the two landowners can get together and do some land swaps and whatnot and make for a far better outcome for Lacombe in general. While we're on this subject there's a rather bizarre looking triangular piece in the adjacent to the intersection of the two roads there. I don't have it in front of me, but perhaps you can bring those up.
Right there.
Okay, so that little piece right in there, and just a little bit of history on that. I think when this property was initially put forth to be rezoned and developed into commercial property from the golfing enterprise that was there before, the administration of the day saw fit to request that triangular piece of property so as to provide access for 46th Street, the opposite of Tim Hortons, to continue through this area. And I think that perhaps that could be rethought and was addressed in that last hand sketch there for the entrance off of almost where it says 46th Avenue, halfway down there. I mean, we don't want to end up in a situation where we've got an intersection disaster like we've got on the opposite end with the Tim Hortons area. And I I think by moving that further to the right-hand side there, which is to the east, hopefully that'll address some of those issues. So, as I stated earlier, I think there's certainly some room for those landowners to get together and increase the size of lots and provide some better access points for all the properties concerned. So, I think Mr. Davin's got something to add there.
Okay, Claire, I'll allow this, and then we're gonna close the meeting, so go ahead.
Like Grant was pointing out to, when I subdivided that piece that Tom is dealing with right now, I submitted that little triangle to the town in lieu of offsites. So that's why they took that little 10% corner out. Bob Jenkins wanted that little corner to possibly carry the road on, but as Grant and me were talking earlier today, we don't foresee the road carrying on to, we only have that small area that we're talking about, and it's never going to go into the research stations. Any questions?
Councillor Connick?
So who owns that triangle? The city owns that triangle? Is that what you're suggesting? So it sounds like a bunch of people have to talk in order to make this all fly. I'm under.
I guess if I could just add one thing, that was the reason why I brought it forth with that little triangle piece. I mean, probably fair enough thinking to allow for future extension of that road, but just so everybody is aware, if we had a little larger view of that, the road only goes down that single property, and then it basically ends at the Alberta Research Center property, so it's really a road to nowhere.
Good. Just for clarification too, I was wondering whether this should be included in the discussion after the fact, in the other part, rather than, because the questions are supposed to be directed to the presenters, I guess, and I think you were leading a lot of that information, which is very important, but I think could have been dealt with in the other. If I'm off track, I'm not sure, but anyway, it's good information for sure. Okay, I will, unless there's anything else, I will declare the public hearing closed.
You guys need to report. I'm covered.
No, really? Yeah. Well, it's nice to hear they got some commercial land, or industrial.
Yeah, get some more businesses in here.
No, it needs to be, well, I don't know, some of them, what are you doing? Are you getting, like residential? No, I know, but when that's done, what?
We've got another days we're gonna do.
Do ya? Okay.
We're starting.
Get that geared up.
Yeah. How are you doing?
Good.
How are you doing? Good.
Yeah.
So. Oh, sorry. Nice to see. Yeah, you never know, eh?
That's usually what happens.
Yeah.
Okay, if I can call the meeting back to order at 6:30. Now, if council will bear with me, because this is my first time doing a public hearing process, I'm going to read the process to make sure that we don't have any problems. Peter?
I'd rather not create a problem. I will need to remove myself for the 6:30 and the 6:40 public hearings due to conflict of interest.
Thank you. So we'll have someone call you back in for the middle one.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Peter. So under statutory public hearing procedures, I declare the statutory public hearing open and that the hearing is held pursuant to section 7, 8, 230, 606, and 692 of the Municipal Government Act 2000 as amended. I request now that the director mention, in the absence of the legislative coordinator, to confirm the process, purpose of the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The purpose of the first public hearing tonight is to deal with bylaw amendment 300.70, a bylaw to amend the City of Lacombe's land use bylaw 300 with regards to two parcels described as the east portion of lot 15 and all portions of lots 16 through 17, block 1, plan 1418S, also known as 5705 45th Avenue, from general residential district R2 to medium density residential district R4, and to redesignate lots 18 through 21, block 1, plan 1418S, also known as 4416 CNE Trail, from general residential district R2 to high density residential district R5.
Yep. Thank you, Director Mitchell. And could you advise that the statutory public hearing notice was advertised in the local newspaper on the specific dates?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, notification was sent to adjacent landowners as well as public advertising in accordance with section 606 of the Act. Was advertised in Lacombe Globe on January 3rd, 2013 and January 10th, 2013.
Thank you. And that any written submissions received and not included in the public hearing agenda package are read into the record?
The only received information is before you in the council package tonight.
Thank you. Okay, the next part, again, reading from the process to ensure that we get it correct with the people that are wishing to give presentations. Seeing that all persons giving oral presentations are to clearly state their name and that presentations are to be brief and to the point. The order of the statutory public hearing presentation will be, first of all, the development officer or designate, then those in favor, those opposed, and any person deemed to be affected who wishes to be heard. So we'll start with the development officer. Jennifer?
Thank you, Ian. The city has received an application for the redesignation of two properties from R2 to R4 and R5 respectively. This change is presented as bylaw 300.70. The application came from Hapso Investments Limited for the rezoning of these properties. The rezoning will help facilitate future development of a medium and high density residential development on these two adjacent properties. First reading of this bylaw took place on November 26, 2013. The applicant wishes to develop two different residential developments on these lots. The applicant believes that the medium and high density residential district would provide an appropriate zoning for the land due to its location to a major roadway and being adjacent to open space and an existing R5 lot. In addition, the proposed R4 lot would create a buffer between the existing R2 lots to the west and the proposed R5 lot to the east. Conceptual designs for the properties are included as attachments, with the different developer being proposed for each lot. The conceptual design with the highest density would be located on the corner lot, with the less dense development being located on the interior lot. The planned development for the interior lot is a 4-plex. The corner lot is proposed to become the site of a 10-plex, but the developer is also considering the development of an adult care residence, which would benefit from the property's proximity to the hospital. The property is located in an area that is predominantly R2, general residential zoning. Directly to the south of this parcel is an R5 high density residential lot. To the east of these properties is the Lacombe Research Station, which is zoned SU, special use, and will retain its current use for the foreseeable future. The lots are also located directly west of the C&E Trail, with a laneway provided at the rear of the properties. In addition, these lots are located at the end of the block with easy access to C&E Trail, which provides easier access to the area due to the installation of the traffic lights at the intersection with 50th Avenue. This would prevent a large increase of westward flowing traffic headed towards 58th Street. Due to the lot's proximity to a major roadway, the location at the end of the block, lane access, and the neighboring high-density residential lot, administration feels that redesignating these lanes to R4 and I5 would be appropriate. In addition, it should be noted that this property falls within the Heart of Town Area Redevelopment Plan. In Section 2.5, Housing, the plan acknowledges the lack of housing diversity in the overall downtown area, including rental properties and higher density. The Heart of Town Plan created goals to help encourage the development of a diverse housing stock. As outlined in Section 3.2.2, Housing Goals, this proposed rezoning is consistent with the following goals: provide a variety of housing type choices, and encourage multi-unit housing to be distributed throughout the town. Adjacent property notification. On October 26, 2012, a notification letter was sent to the adjacent property owners informing them of the submittal of this application. On November 28, 2012, a notification letter was sent to the adjacent property owners informing them of the date of the public hearing and indicating that some changes had been made to the initial application. No letters were received in regards to this application, other than the information provided in the document. The applicant has also paid the required fee. Administration is recommending to council that after the public hearing is held, that council gives second and third reading to bylaw 300.70.
Thank you, Planner Kirchner. I'd now ask anyone from the audience in favor of this to come forward, if you don't mind, and sit at the table there and state your name. Now, there is a button on the side there if someone, if you want to, can help you with that. State your name and please be brief. Thank you.
Yeah, hi, my name is Ida Coots, and I represent Haxel Investments, the owners of the parcels of land. Haxel has owned these two lots since 2004 and 2005, and they've always felt the best use of these lots was for a multifamily development. As mentioned, most likely a 4-plex on the interior lot and perhaps a 10-plex on the corner lot. As mentioned in our application, the parcel would provide an excellent location for an adult or senior development for the residents of Lacombe. We feel it would have little impact on the neighbors regarding traffic and density, since the lots are located at the end of the block and within proximity to a major roadway, and they have access to a laneway. And there is also already an R5 lot directly south of the piece of the parcel. If approved, HAFSA would develop and design these buildings that would be suitable for the area and neighborhood, and they would meet the requirements of the Heart of Town Area Redevelopment Plan. HAFSA has a track record of building well-designed, superior quality, and well-maintained buildings in Lacombe, which are all suitable for the neighborhoods that they're being built in. And it's been our experience that once the buildings have been built, the neighbors have no negative reactions. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you very much. I did neglect to point out that members of council would have an opportunity after each presentation to ask questions, and I apologize for that. So before you move off, Ina, does council have any questions out there? Councillor Creasy?
Just a point of clarification there on our map that we have here. I see no indication that it's R5 to the south of the property in question that you would refer to. I just wanted to get some clarification.
It's that orange piece.
That's R5?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ina. Okay, if I could ask anyone from the audience that is opposed to please come forward, stating your name, and so is there anyone? Okay. No one opposed on this particular one? Okay,
Yeah.
oh, I'm sorry. You could state your name and please be brief.
Hi, my
The blue one on the top front, right by you. The blue one, oh, she shut
power
it
is
off.
on already.
Push it and hold it down. There you go. There we go.
Hi, my name is Pat Jeskew. I am a homeowner on 45th Avenue. I'm opposed to this development and redesignation to an R5 density. I live on the street. The 4 houses that are directly across from it do use that area. We do park in our front of our area. We would be affected by any kind of development across the street, but really I don't think the infrastructure on 45th Avenue and 44th Avenue is there to support higher density development on the street, because there are no sidewalks on that block of street. People have to walk on the street. We park on the street. So therefore, there is a safety issue to has to be brought to your attention, that any kind of increased, I mean, at the end, no, it's not at the end of the block. There would be, what, 10, 13 units there. So those 13 units would be progressively in. The other thing I would like to say is that in the presentation it said that there was an open space. I would like to know where there's the open space. That's a question, because really what I would see is that there is the research station across the street.
And
that is not, yes, and that is not an open space. That is a research station. People are not allowed on the research station except in the front yard, which happens to be 3 blocks away. It is not to be publicly accessed. Those are research plots. I would say that this would be a lovely area if household developments could use it as a green space. Designation of some of this property to a green space. In the DARP, we're talking about increasing the green space in the heart of Lacombe. In the triangle designated between 58th Street, C&E Trail, and Highway 12 to the north, there is no green space in that area where there is a playground. That would be a perfect, this would be a perfect property for a playground for the children in that triangle. It would also be a place for the seniors from the lodge to have a walking destination, some place where they could come and they could sit. That would be a proper designation for this piece of property. Higher density is not a proper designation for this property. This is a small area of single family dwellings, except for that one R5 with the seniors lodge to the north. Any higher density would actually affect the lifestyle that a single family dwelling is, and that is that we have seniors and we have families and we have children, and higher density puts all of that at risk. I thank you for allowing me to speak towards this tonight.
Thank you, Pat. Any questions from council? Thank you again. Is there anyone else that wishes to oppose? Please state your name and please be brief.
David Jeske, and I've got the presentation to put forward. Presentation, January 14th, 2013, Land Use Bylaw 300 Amendment. I would like to thank Deputy Mayor Foster, council members, and Lacombe City staff for the opportunity to make this presentation today. The 45th area between C&E Trail and 58th Street has a high density already, with the existing zoning, and no further increase in density should be permitted. Second survey of 45th Avenue. I surveyed the homeowners of 45th Ave. All but 2 of these ratepayers want the area to stay as a single family dwelling area with no higher density. I did not contact one owner. The area consists of seniors, established homeowners, and young families. The homeowners want no higher density than is already in the area. This is a map of the 45th Avenue area similar to what was up earlier. Next, please. As you can see, starting in the left lower corner, we have a place of worship, which is a large congregation. Above that, we have a commercial maintenance, lawn care, and construction for all of the Lacombe Foundation, which has many trucks and travel throughout the central Alberta area working on Lacombe Foundation properties. Above that, we have an open field of the R6 area that is designated for an apartment block and could be built at any time because it's already got its designation. Towards the center, we have the Manor, which is an apartment block that is there. Okay, off to the right top, we have the hospital that's there, which creates a fair amount of traffic in the area. Below that, we have another place of worship, which has required more property and is expanding, I was told. Below that, we have an apartment block that is in the R5, right to the left of it. Next slide, please. Okay, and then we come into the center area. We have the Lacombe Seniors Lodge, which is a large operation with semi-trailers coming and going for the food and Meals on Wheels coming and going. To the upper right, we have the corporate offices for the Lacombe Foundation. One thing that also is known there is that property is zoned R5, so another apartment block could go in there. Now, with Pafso's property, or whoever develops it, being put in between that, that would totally encompass this whole area. And it would take away any single family respect that the town or city of Lacombe now should give to the people that have been there before. Next slide. When I purchased the property, I checked and verified that the area was a single family development area. Our property was rezoned without proper notification to R2. In 2006, we objected to an application for development of a parking lot at the Seniors Lodge West Side. We wanted assurance that it would be properly engineered and not allow snow melt and heavy rainfall to flood the back lane, which is still happening in that area. Next slide, please. Improper rezoning. During another council meeting, I mentioned the change in zoning. I was assured by Mayor Judy Gordon that there would be no higher density zoning in the area. The 45th Avenue is a nice single family area and should stay this way as we live with a higher density around us and are okay with this level. But I don't think any more is going to be any better. It may be better for the tax base, but sometimes you have to look past that. Next slide, please. Heart of Lacombe plan. The conceptual plan put forward to planning does not follow the Heart of Lacombe plan. It shows front drives when the Heart of Lacombe plan states that when lanes are available, they shall be used for parking and garages. Many families are remodeling houses and the area has a safe family density desired by all. Many of the homes have remained historical. I've been told talking to people that some of those houses in there are actually cottage houses that are from the research station where the people used to live when they were brought into work. So they do have a historical value to the actual city of Lacombe. Next slide, please. I surveyed the area and the majority of homeowners want the area to stay with the same density. I have presented a survey/petition to the city of Lacombe that the majority of homeowners want the density to remain as a single family density area as it is now. Continuing forward to become a city, I want to ask City Council to reject the application to rezone these properties and to maintain the family values that the city of Lacombe is known for and the property values as the ratepayers have requested. This will maintain the safety and security of the community. Next slide. The 45th Avenue Community and myself would like to thank Mayor Steve Christie, Council, and the staff of the City of Lacombe for the privilege to be able to speak and present on this bylaw amendment. Next slide. This is a copy of the survey/petition of the homeowners. There's one there, 1, 2, 3, 4th from the bottom that they were just renting, I found out. Next slide. And there's some more. Right now there's only a total of 19 units on that block. Thank you very much.
Thank you, David. Any questions from council? Councillor Creasy?
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. I was just curious, you've got a lengthy list of signatures there. I was wondering how many households or how many different properties that represents?
Out of a total of 19, those are 12 homeowners.
And are any of those other individuals here with you this evening?
Dolores McIntyre's.
I was also curious if you could see any kind of a compromise between a proposed development happening there.
This area originally, when we purchased it, was R1B, and we would have actually fought the same way as I am now to maintain that before it even was taken away from us illegally and went to R2.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, David. Okay, next. Oh, sorry, Councillor Connick.
I do have a question, but not directed to Mr. Jesse, to our planner, if I may, but I can do that later.
Yeah, proceed.
Thank you. Jennifer, I wonder if you could, right now we have within the city that you can only build, for example, I'm going to speak to secondary suites, you can only have 10% on any given block. Do we have such a thing in place for medium to high densities on any given block within the community?
We do not currently have a policy that stipulates the percentage that's allowed in each block. It's basically done on a rezoning application basis and how it matches up with existing plans.
Okay. Might be prudent that we examine the thought of that going forward, perhaps. My second question is on 45th Ave. Well, 45th, 44th. I wonder if you can tell me, or do you know, I haven't had a chance to drive through there at all, if you can tell me how many medium to high density there are units on that block to date?
I actually took a drive around and did up a little rudimentary map going door to door to take a look. On 45th Avenue, there is one set of semi-detached. I could give you the street number if you feel so inclined. To the north of that, as pointed out, is the Lacombe Lodge and the Seniors Complex. On 44th Avenue, almost the entire section of the north part of that street is currently semi-detached buildings, and then at the corner is a high-density unit. So it's technically what we classify as medium density and high density. We don't have any medium density. Semi-detached is not considered medium density, and the only high-density units in that area that meet our bylaw is the one apartment complex that's at the corner of 44th Avenue and Simi Trail, and then the seniors complex as well, located further north. Everything else in the area is single-family dwellings.
And by semi-detached?
Most people would view them as a duplex, 2 units attached, but in our bylaw, a duplex is actually stacked, and a semi-detached is the 2 units side by side. So they are, from what I gathered, they're each on their own individual lot. So each side can be owned separately, as opposed to what you might see is a person building an entire semi-detached unit on one lot. So these were built on one half on each individual lot.
Perfect, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, Grant, sorry.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Just one more point of clarification. It appears from this map that 45th Avenue is substantially narrower than many of the adjacent streets, 46th Avenue and 44th Avenue. And I'm just curious, I'm just curious if that's an accurate representation, or is it?
It represents what the zoning currently is. So there is that potential for any person to choose to tear down their house and build to what is maximum allowed for that zoning. So the R2, any person could choose to currently tear it down and apply to build a duplex or a semi-detached. There's good chunks of R1B, unless a person applies to rezone to higher, it'll remain single-family dwelling. So a lot of this depends on what the housing stock is. If a house is worth very little and the land is considered more valuable, that's where you'll typically see a scenario like this coming up. If the houses remain in good condition, then there's a pretty good chance that area for the rest of those houses could remain that way for decades or more.
Okay, I appreciate that additional information. Just some clarification on the streets. 45th Avenue appears to be substantially narrower than 44th and 46th.
Yep.
Is that an accurate representation of what's going on?
44th Avenue has a boulevard separating the east and west traffic. So the map probably doesn't have the best representation of actual realistic representation of the widths of the roads. But 45th Avenue is the typical non-separated road that does have the occasional parking on the street. So that typical width. 44th Avenue, when I drove down, there is the median in between east and west traffic separating them, and there was still enough room for my vehicle to go down with people being parked right in front of houses.
Okay, thank you, because that was certainly a concern that I had when I initially looked at this, is parking like it is with every development, especially infill development such as this. So.
Yeah. And any infill development, our policy is for these types of developments that when they apply for a development permit, they do have to have parking and access off the laneway. It wouldn't be off the road. So any drawings that were submitted were just conceptual drawings of what might go in, but they are not official site plans that have been designed specifically for the site to meet our land use bylaw. That process would be done at the development permit level through the Municipal Planning Commission.
Okay, so for that corner property where the higher density is under consideration, all of the garage units then have to be entered to from the narrow alley between 44th and 45th.
Yeah, it would be alley access.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Disco. I'll ask for
one more back to Grant Creasy on his comments.
I'll allow this and then I'll ask for others to make their presentations. Thank you.
Thank you. That block is abnormally short for a city block compared to other blocks also. I wanted to point that out. Not just the road being narrow with no sidewalks. It also is short. So the number of signatures represents that it is a very short block. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I'll ask for any person deemed to be. Go ahead.
No problem, Deputy Mayor Foster. Jennifer, I have another question. The lot in question, then, if it were to be subdivided for single-family homes, how many homes could it potentially incorporate on that lot?
That would be hard to guess because it is such an oddly shaped lot. So that would be, I'd say at least 3. There could be more depending on what type of zoning. So they'd have to rezone to a lower density. And the person could choose to rezone to, let's say, R1D, which is our narrowest. And then they'd have a minimum lot width that would be required to meet. And those lots could be as small as allowed. So for instance, a corner parcel could be as small as 410 meters square, and an interior parcel could be as small as 375 meters square. So I'm not sure what the actual meter square of that is, but you could fit a fair number in, and then you'd have access for some of them. Well, all of them would probably be, you'd be adding access off of 44th Avenue and right onto CNE Trail. You would be able to have lots designed with solely rear access, so you'd be creating more actual traffic on those roads because you wouldn't be able to divert it to the laneway.
Okay, thank you. My apologies. I should have thought of that earlier and given you a chance to come up with that, but thank you.
Okay, so I would like to ask any person deemed to be affected who wishes to be heard to come forward. Seeing none, I would ask if anyone has a concluding statement from those that have made their presentations. If they wish to come forward again, they certainly can. And yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, I'd just like to thank you once again for having the opportunity to present at this. I think it's important that we all are allowed our voice. I really think it's important to point out that public safety has to be an issue here because of the lack of sidewalks and because there is no green space in this area. You cannot include the agricultural research plots as an open space because children cannot go and play at that open space. And this has been a lovely lot. It was really well maintained when the Longs owned it. It was a lovely place to go to. And if that could be part of what the city is thinking about in designations for anything, especially with DART going ahead, that I would really encourage that this be a space that the city looks at in developing into a green place and a walking spot for the seniors from the lodge, maybe even from the hospital. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone else wish to make a concluding statement? Okay, anything else from council before I declare the meeting closed? So I will now declare the public hearing closed on this one. And if someone could ask Peter to come in. Okay, the process is identical. We have 2 more of these public hearings. This one on bylaw 300.71, rezoning Len Thompson, at 6:35 and it's 7:05, so we'll continue on. So I will declare that the statutory public hearing open and that the hearing is held pursuant to section 7, 8, 230, 606, and 692 of the Municipal Government Act 2000 as amended. I would ask that Director Minchin confirm that the purpose of the public hearing.
Mr. Chairman, before you tonight is a bylaw 300.71, a bylaw to redesignate the lands described as Plan 6369 KS, part of northwest and southwest of 294026 west of the 4th, from future designation district and light industrial district I1 to light industrial district I1, public and institutional use district P, and environmental open space district EOS. This bylaw has been advertised in the Lacombe Globe on January 3rd and January 10th of 2013. A notification to adjacent landowners was mailed out with regards to notice of this bylaw and hearing on December 10th, 2012.
Thank you. And was there any written submissions received and not included in the public hearing agenda package?
There was not. There was not.
Thank you. Okay, again, I would ask for persons giving oral presentations to clearly state their name and that the presentations are to be brief and to the point. The order of the statutory public hearing presentations will be Jennifer Kirschner, our planning officer, those in favor, those opposed, any persons deemed to be affected who wishes to be heard, and of course council can ask questions of each person as they present. So Jennifer, we'll turn it over to you.
Thank you so much. The city has prepared an application for the redesignation of land described as Plan 6369KS and part of Northwest and Southwest 294026 west of the 4th from future designation district and light industrial district to light industrial district, public and institutional use district, and environmental open space district. This application was prepared in consultation with us from Stantec Consulting for the redesignation of these properties to help facilitate the future development of the Lynn Thompson Phase 2 Industrial Park. These lands are contained within the Lynn Thompson Phase 2 Outline Plan, which was adopted at the November 13th, 2012 Council meeting. The amendment has been done in accordance with sections 606 and 640 of the MGA and Part 5 of our land use bylaw. An application for subdivision has been submitted and is currently being processed. The subdivision application has recently been given a decision letter, so it is progressing fairly quickly. The dimensions and lot sizes correspond with those outlined in the rezoning application, which can be viewed in the accompanying bylaw. First reading was given for this bylaw at the regular City Council meeting on December 10th, 2012. This development will comprise of 14 light industrial parcels, an environmental open space parcel, and 4 public and institutional parcels. The majority of the proposed rezoning meets the requirements of the Lynn Thompson Phase 2 Outline Plan as seen in the following concept map. A couple additional portions have been added to this application in order to ensure consistent zoning of the surrounding parcels that are being used for drainage purposes and or are areas that are considered environmentally sensitive. Those areas would be some of the darker, bear with me for a second. If you could scroll down a bit further. Oh, maybe I did not have it in there. It's in the bylaw map parent. I apologize for that. But basically a few areas have been added in addition just to clean a few things up. The dark green area has been extended north and east, and the portion of the drainage area has also been indicated for rezoning. Those are being have previously been subdivided out and or are being subdivided out as we speak. So just a little bit of cleanup. On November 27th, 2012, a letter was sent to adjacent property owners notifying them of the submittal of this application. On December 12th of 2012, following notification letter was sent informing them of the date of this public hearing. No letters were received in regards to this application. City staff recommends that after the public hearing is closed, that council give second and final reading to this bylaw.
Thanks, Madam Kirchner. Any questions of Jennifer before we? Okay, so anyone wishing to speak in favor from the audience? Okay, anyone opposed? Please state your name and please be brief.
My name is Dan Skinner from Next Legacy. We put in
the button there for everyone to
My name is Dan Skinner from Next Legacy. We had put in a proposal to buy this 40 acres from the town. Now, going over your book, it first started out at basically $900,000 that the taxpayers would pay for this tune for what you guys are calling your business park. Now I see it's at 1.8 million, and you haven't started. We had offered you guys 2 offers on that land at $1 million profit in 8 months. Can you tell me how you can turn down $1 million profit on this piece of land, which the tax base, which our company would have built, you didn't have to put in sewers, water, fire hydrants, or roads, which that adds up to another $490,000. So can you guys honestly look me in the face, and our tax base would have been from $1 million to $1.5 million in the first year of your tax base, and employ 300 people in the first year, and you guys want the taxpayers of this town to put up $1.8 million up front, and by the time you're done, because I have a construction history, you'll be over 2.3 million into that property. Can somebody tell me how that fares out in this town? You guys don't have any commercial here. We're putting up 900,000 square feet of buildings alone. So how we got voted down in this issue, for this council to vote and spend over $2 million of these taxpayers' money, and these people that can't afford on single family dwellings, and hike them up another 7 to 9%, so that council can build another commercial property, that there's one on the outside of town right now by the co-op, that he can't even get anybody to go there. So can somebody please tell me how you guys think you're going to develop a piece of property here that by the time you're done, you'll top over 2.5. And we offered you $1 million to walk away from it now in 7 to 8 months of you people possessing this property, and at the same time give you $1.5 million tax base and put up 300 jobs in the first year. Somebody please answer that question for me.
So are you finished?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. I'll ask CEO McCory to respond.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Foster. To Mr. Skinner, land matters are discussed in camera by this council, and they will not be discussed publicly at this time with you.
Wow. Am I not a taxpayer of this town, sir?
I pay taxes. Mr. Skinner, that land matters are discussed in camera with this council.
It's not really a land matter. I'm asking you basically how you can put a budget on this table at 1.8 million when you guys got off. That's what I'm asking you. Is your budget not 1.8 million right now to do this proposal? Am I wrong?
Mr. Skinner, I think we've answered the question. If you wish to stay for the rest of the process, you're certainly welcome to hear the rest of the process. But I'd ask that we get on to the next person.
Can I ask why I'm getting excused? Am I not a taxpayer of this town? I want to know why the taxpayers are paying 1.8 million for this tag.
I think we've answered the question.
I didn't understand.
Please
How did
allow
you
the
answer
next people. We asked you to be brief and make a point.
Well, nobody answered the question yet. The question is how can you
It
put
was-
1.8 million on the table for the
It was
taxpayers?
answered, sir, it was answered.
How was it answered?
The CEO advised that land matters are dealt in camera.
It's not, I'm asking you a question right now, it's not a land matter. How can
About the
you,
land, of course it's a land matter.
what is the budget on the land? So I moved my question down to how can you guys spend 1.8 million on the land? Is that not
Skinner,
why we're here?
Would you please remove yourself from that desk so we can have the next presenter make their presentation? Thank you very much.
I just wonder why you get sued.
Okay, so I would ask that any person deemed to be affected who wishes to be heard at this point. We have two people, oops, sorry, okay, not yet.
Oh, yeah?
Go ahead.
He's going the other way.
Please state your name and please be brief.
My name is Wayne Arbershaw, and I'm grateful for this opportunity to share my thoughts on the proposal. I'm neither for or against it, but I am glad that there is a concrete proposal for there. Is it possible to get the map attachment A brought up? Yeah, that's the one. What I'm wondering about is in the green area, the EOS, there has been a lot of truckload sized mounds of dirt put in there over quite a number of years. Actually, if you go on the Google map, you'll know the satellite image. You'll what appears to be fresh dirt. So dirt is being brought into that area. If there were an overlay, is actually in the floodplain, not the flood fringe. So